Plot of episode 1. Three inseparable buddies meet on a neighborhood bench. Vince has a dilemma about what to do with an unwanted pregnancy and how to convince his girlfriend to have an abortion. Wally advises him to use his method. Tell her the child will have Down syndrome. Spike says Vince should admit to his girlfriend that he is gay. Angry and upset, Vince goes home. The other two drink beer and milk. After watching House MD, Vince comes back to his buddies. He says he will use Spike's method because they said the same thing on House. He then goes to his girlfriend, Martha. He tells her that he is gay and because of that he cannot have children. He also says that their newborn child will be homosexual too. Martha is not convinced. She tells Vince to find a job so that he can support the family. At the hospital, Martha is giving birth. The baby turns out to have a neck thicker than its head and a tattoo saying Legia rules. The newborn also manages to steal the wallet of the doctor delivering the baby. Martha explains all of this with the phrase, "It takes after its father." The doctor announces to the new dad that the child is a girl. Vince goes outside for a cigarette and notices someone stealing his Polish Fiat. Then Martha walks up to him with their daughter. Suddenly it turns out that all of this was just a hallucination caused by designer drugs. Vince regains consciousness at a house party. When Martha asks whether they are going to the bedroom, he refuses, saying that he still likes his Polish Fiat too much. Wally goes instead. Plot of episode 2. The buddies are stuck in a traffic jam in Rashin. They shout insulting slogans about the town, and an annoyed Spike punches a car parked by the roadside. The whole scene catches the attention of a local hustler, who starts insulting Legia supporters. Adrian lunges at the yokel but gets knocked out, and the boys drive him to Polonia Stadium so he can vent his anger. Out of rage, Spike smashes the stadium gate with a ripped-out bench when suddenly a police car shows up. Even though the officer makes an L with his fingers, the boys take it as a provocation, and Wally insults the cop. As punishment, all three end up in a holding cell for 24 hours, where, out of boredom, they start beatboxing. After getting out, the buddies eat kebabs on the bench outside their apartment block. The boys praise the food, and Wally bets Vince that for 2 zlotys he can swallow the entire bun. The group calms down, however, when Jovita appears with her friend. The boys notice that the same yokel from Rashin has come to pick the girls up. Spike attacks him again, but once more he gets knocked out. Furious, Vince and Wally then jump the villager, giving him no chance and also smearing kebab all over his car upholstery. Plot of episode 3. Wally and Spike are watching the game show 1 out of 10 on television, and Vince is one of the contestants. To their surprise, he wins the final round and gets the top prize of 10,000 zlotys. To celebrate, his friends prepare a welcome banner and wait for him outside the apartment block while making plans for how they will spend the money together. Suddenly Vince drives up, but instead of getting out of the car, he just throws an empty whiskey bottle out the window. Wally and Spike go to Vince's apartment building, hoping he is home, but his mother tells them he has gone out. Furious, Wally decides to deliver justice to the winner for not sharing with them, and he and Spike head for the Tyskie pub, where they hope to find their friend. Meanwhile, Vince is in the pub buying rounds for 2 girls and bragging about the money he won. This catches the attention of Skull and Yubi, who follow him outside and mug him. A moment later, Spike and Wally arrive, and the thugs give the money back, saying they did not recognize their buddy because of it. Adrian decides the amount is too large and sets the cash on fire. Plot of episode 4. The guys are trying to pick up girls at the Tyskie pub. They fail. So later, sitting on the bench outside the apartment block and drinking beer, they talk it over. Suddenly Wally suggests going to a brothel, and Vince and Spike agree. Outside the nightclub, Vince feels a little nervous but does not admit it. He even offers the others some vodka he has with him. After a quick shot, all three go inside. Wally's prostitute laughs at the size of his private parts. Vince nearly throws up while masturbating. And Spike ends up chatting with a girl because it turns out he knows her. Time passes. Wally barely manages to finish before his time runs out. Vince falls asleep afterward, and Spike proposes to Barbara. At that point, the madam comes in and tells Adrian that if he wants to keep going, he has to move on to another girl. Because Nicole, which is Barbara's working name, has a client. Plot of episode 5. The three buddies are sitting on the bench outside the apartment block. Vince is telling the others about his friend who has allergies when Wally notices a dirty hobo walking by. The boys harass the metalhead, who turns out to be Nurgle, steal his mobile phone and 25 groszy, and Spike knocks him out just because. Sometime later, the king of hip-hop pulls up in his limousine. He wants to give them a rap about the incident with the metalhead and invites them for a ride. In Sleazeweek, the king shows the boys graffiti depicting the history of the war between the metalheads and the boys, along with its consequences. It turns out that the trio has broken the pocket knife pact, which sets the rules in the world of those subcultures. And as a result, they have restarted the war. It turns out that the king of hip-hop sent the king of metal a vinyl record with an apology for the incident, but it was returned to him, most likely because the addressee deliberately did not collect it. Because of that, the boys have to go personally to the palace of the king of metal and apologize. Plot of episode 6. This episode is a direct continuation of the previous one. The heroes are standing in front of the gate to the palace of the King of Metal. After remarking that, despite their age, they still dress like children, the guard lets them in. The boys then wander through the building, commenting on the decor and on the fact that they have not noticed a single girl yet. Finally, after about a half-hour walk, they reach the chamber of the King of Metal, where they tell him about their exploit, namely assaulting a metalhead. He immediately flies into a rage and calls on his men to kill the boys. Vince, Wally, and Spike obviously survive. But right after that incident, a war breaks out between the subcultures. A great battle between hip-hop fans and metalheads is about to begin. But just as the clash is about to happen, the king of disco polo interrupts and calms the situation down. Plot of episode 7. The three protagonists are standing in line at a shop. At one point, a man comes up to them and asks for a cigarette. Vince gives him one, and in return the man shows them a trick for lighting it, then walks away. When the heroes reach the counter, it turns out they have been robbed by the trickster. Meanwhile, the illusionist counts the money he has stolen and decides it would be better to rob someone in a suit. He finds such a person, hypnotizes him, and takes his wallet. At the same time, our heroes are looking for the thief and wondering how they could have been fooled so easily. At one point, they notice a poster for the Vesuvio Circus, whose main attraction is Kreesik the Trickster, a real Mr. Inkblot. He is the man who robbed them. The men decide to catch the circus performer. After taking a bus to the place where the circus is set up, and getting fined by a ticket inspector, they are captured and locked in a cage. Kreesik releases his tiger, Vesuvio, which is actually a pig painted with stripes and fitted with a crepe paper mane. It runs out into the street and gets hit by a police car. Plot of episode 8. Our protagonists are standing outside Iguana. The bouncer refuses to let them in because they do not have an invitation. Wally asks why he let the man before them in. And it turns out he did so because that man is Prokop. And he does not need an invitation. Wally then asks Spike for help. But Spike is knocked out by the bouncer. Next, all three heroes end up in the hospital, where the Bruiser explains the defeat by saying there were too many opponents. In reality, after the first punch he was seeing triple. After some time, one more person joins them, and it turns out to be Prokop himself. At one point he calls for a nurse, but she runs in screaming that something terrible is happening in the hospital. That something turns out to be Dorothy, who wants to kill the celebrity because he wanted to meet with Soulords. The murder attempt fails because the journalist had ordered himself to be bandaged upside down. So she only cuts off his feet. After which she goes off to set Iguana on fire. An orderly wheels Soulords into the room. And as he is dying, he hands Prokop the Polsat passport. Half a year passes. The men say goodbye to the celebrity at the airport as he flies off to Palestine. Plot of episode 9. Wally and Spike are talking about Vince's new job. At one point, they begin arguing with one of the residents because he does not like the fact that they are sitting in the hallway, smoking cigarettes, and drinking beer. After a moment, they have to run away because the man they were arguing with sets his dogs on them. The action then moves to a kebab stand where Vince works. The boys come to see him, and he makes them free kebabs. After a while, the owner comes in with a complaint. It turns out that Vince ordered lamb 5 times, but sold only 6 kebabs. He tries to smooth things over by saying "sick me," thinking it means sorry, but he gets fired. The main characters then decide to take revenge. They set garbage bins on fire, and after the owner and his assistant leave, they break into the stand. Vince spits into the containers holding the kebab ingredients, and then all of them make food for themselves. A little later, all three are sitting on the bench eating kebabs. At one point, Spike tells the others that before they made the kebabs, he pissed in the meat.